Experience is always better in a group. The Christian experience doubly so. We're just a group of gamers that love to talk about life, God, and video games in no particular order. So whether you're a newbie or a grizzled ancient like us, we want to help each other roll the level.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Roll the Level, where we're going to have a conversation about life, God, and video games in no particular order. My name is Dame, and I am so glad to be with my two friends today, because these two friends of mine have been all hyped about all of the releases that have happened today, and we're going to get to them specifically. Matt, how is Animal Crossing?
Oh,
yeah,
it was so good. The double barrel shotgun's amazing. Oh wait, no, wrong game.
Isabel's
Sorry.
the best.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
Isabel is so good with the double barrel shotgun.
Right? Right. Have you guys seen that YouTube video yet?
No.
Where Doomslayer
I've seen
teaches
a couple of them.
Doomslayer teaches her how to use a double barrel shotgun.
No, that is
It's
fantastic.
amazing. It's definitely worth searching for on the YouTubes because it was
Consider
the
it
best
done.
crossover ever.
Yeah. So obviously we know where your loyalties lie, Sarah. I know that you have been up all night doom slaying.
Yes. I was so hyped for
in the garden.
all of the doom slaying. I'm pretty sure there's a grappling hook now, so I use that a lot.
Meat hook.
Meat hook, yes. I'm sorry, meat
There
hook.
you go. You got it.
That really helps.
Meat hooking all my pears.
That really helps get those pears out of the tree and
Yeah.
Right,
get
it's true.
root
It really
vegetables
would.
And
And you could turn it
Who
into
needs to
jam
build
at the
this?
same time. It'd be great.
right.
Yeah, I don't need to DIY my axe anymore. I can just
It's
meat
just
hook.
right there, all
true.
of the tools at your disposal. Well, obviously, you guys have differing tastes in the releases here today. We're actually going to talk about that a little bit because I have no personal attachment to either franchise.
I know. I feel so sorry for you.
Well, I should say yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause-
sway him.
Yeah, because I realize that there's a lot of deep lore behind Animal Crossing that I
it's so
don't
deep.
know about yet, and so I'm going to be digging.
It starts back in the N64 days.
Going to be digging
true.
deep into that and
Hey,
figure
Doom
out
goes back to the DOS days. I'm just saying.
the nefarious nefarious
true.
deeds of Mr. Nook. Did I get that right?
Yes,
All
you
right,
did,
fantastic.
Mr.
Dude,
the
you know
crook.
100% more about Animal Crossing than I do now. That's impressive.
Yeah, he's doing good.
I studied. Sarah, tell me a little bit about how did you get connected with Animal Crossing? Why is it a franchise that you love? And with this particular game, like what is kind of what's the draw for you in this?
Okay, that's a loaded question, but
You got
it's
this. I
definitely
believe in you.
it's a big nostalgia thing.
Okay.
Back in the day, we got our game. My mom surprised with a GameCube for Christmas, even though I was consulted about the purchase. So
But you had to make sure you
Like
got
she-
the right one. So
well, she called me from Toys R Us. She's like, "There's this guy demoing this weird game called Animal Crossing, but it looks really cute, so I'm gonna buy it with our GameCube that we're getting for Christmas. Thanks, bye." So I was like, "Okay."
Spoilers.
This sounds wonderful. So I was reading news at the time, but I was more into PC gaming at that point, honestly.
Mm.
So I played a lot of Ghost Recon and Quake 2 back in the day. So
What? I didn't know
Yeah.
you played Quake 2.
yeah, back in the day for sure.
What?
My dad worked for Microsoft and ran a bunch of
Right.
tournaments for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I played along with the tourneys and stuff. But
Oh my word! This whole time I thought you were just a JRBG fan.
no, well,
come to find out,
after
you're old school id. Oh my word!
I got my PlayStation and I stopped PC gaming. So there you
The
go.
revelations that are happening
There's a
here today.
whole new side of you I didn't even know about.
Oh, I'm making the brains blow up, but
Wow.
Animal Crossing.
Sorry.
So
I'm
we
excited.
got from Quake to
Yeah.
Animal Crossing. I mean,
Yeah.
it is really on brand with our conversation here today, though. So
It's true. It is. It's true. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so back to Christmas happened. So I have two younger sisters and my mom, and we all made a spot in this town. And we all shared our materials and everything. Like, we were all learning the game together. We would all
Mm-hmm.
download like the designs off of the internet for making shirts, and we'd all make our little Link shirt and our Zelda shirts and
That's
everything.
cool.
So like, we would spend whole days. You'd have to make it on like a, oh my gosh, what was it, like 30 by 30 grid, and you have to put each color in specifically.
Oh wow.
And you
Oh
had
my
15 color
word.
choices, like,
Yeah.
and it would tell you what it was, like color by numbers, really.
Yeah.
So, but those take forever. Like, there's just so much nostalgia of this, doing all the events together and making like time slots every holiday event to be like, okay, it's 12 o'clock on Christmas, you have this slot, and then like my mom would wake up in the morning, you
My
have this
word.
slot. So we had this down to a T.
That is stupid
So-
intense.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Love
yeah,
it.
we
I
had.
love it.
And we eventually had to each get our own town because we were just like, only one person could get all the furniture for a certain event. So my mom would get all the snowman furniture for when you could build snowman. It's like, well, what if I wanted that furniture? So eventually we got 3
bad.
more GameCube memory cards, and we all started our own towns.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so ever since then I've bought every iteration of this game. The second iteration totally sucked, totally took out all the fun events.
Oh no.
So the DS version was garbage. Never really got into the Wii one for some reason.
Probably
But then
the
the
controls.
3DS totally. Oh, yeah. Even
Yeah.
Twilight Princess I never got into. I went back and got the GameCube version because it's like I don't want to waggle.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But once the 3DS version came around, I imported it from Japan to get it 6 months early. So I was so hyped for it, and I played the crap out of that one. Bought the English version when that came out. And I have all my like special event from the Japanese one, like the 7-Eleven special merchandise that you could get just in the Japanese version. I put it in my
That's
English version, so
amazing.
I'm all cool there too. But that brings us to the Switch one, which was I think 7 years after the 3DS one has come out.
Good night.
Wow.
So it's been a long time coming.
There's been a
but
drought for you.
yes, and well, to be fair, they had a game in between there called Happy Home Designer, but it was really a stopgap where you just had your home and you pretty much decorated it, and they rated you on your decorations.
Well, that was
So
the
it.
that was the mobile one, right?
The Happy Home
yeah.
Design. Oh no, there's Pocket Camp too.
Oh.
That's the mobile one.
Okay.
Which I hate myself for playing still, but I am because they said there's a special event coming where like you have to play Pocket Camp to get furniture for New Horizons. So it's like,
Well,
gotta get back
how
on
they-
this,
well,
even
That's
though
how they
this is
keep you hooked.
bad.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm doing the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's just not good. There was a survey sent out the other day, and I gave them a piece of my mind. So, but
That's
now it
awesome.
brings us to this one, New Horizons. Finally, I was up at midnight. Got you have to get your new town. You have an island now. It's your
Oh
own
wow, there you go.
It's
island.
my
Things have
island.
escalated.
So you have to name your island. You get to create your character this time. Usually you're given like a I don't know, randomly generated character. This time you get to generate your own.
Nice.
And
Fancy.
I do not like the hairstyles at all. They're all garbage. I can't wait to go get my hair did when I unlock that. But other than that, I am, and the tutorial is quite long for this one. I think
Okay.
it works a little bit differently. Usually, you're given a house and you have a loan, and you got to pay off your loan right away with the currency and the game bells. But now you have to do like little quests where you have to catch a bunch of fish and build a bunch of things right
Fishing.
away. You have to catch a bunch of bugs, and it's just like a whole bunch of little things, little quests that you have to just go on a log and figure out which ones you feel like doing, and that's how you pay off your first loan. So I spent 3 hours doing that last night, but then you literally have to shut it off. There's almost nothing else you could do. So this morning I booted it up, and I was stuck on like a quarter of my island. They didn't give you any bridges or any way to get to the other 3/4 of my island.
Okay.
So this morning I booted it up, and they're like, okay, now we gave you the recipe for a pole vault. So now you can vault over the river. So now you can see the rest of your island. So I was like, well, thank goodness. If I was stuck on here the rest of the day just catching bugs and fishing, I would be quite sad, but I'd still do it. But so now I'm just enjoying building it's an endless cycle right now of fishing, making a fishing rod because it breaks constantly. And
Wow,
just
this
finding
sounds
a way
like
to-
so much fun.
It is.
Yeah.
It is very fun. I
All right,
have
all right.
2 villagers right now. I'm
Oh, my
just
word.
chilling with them.
Yeah, yeah.
And just trying to pay off my loan right now and see what's available. Because right now I have to collect a whole bunch of wood to make my shop so I can start shopping for my furnitures. And I got enough stuff to upgrade my house last night. So yes, it was a very full 3 hours, and I was happy to turn it off and wake up 4 hours later and turn it on again and be able to have my museum and explore the rest of my house. So.
Such a contrast to go
Yes.
from Quake to that.
Yeah.
I know.
No.
It was, yeah, it's just so much nostalgia for me. But now it's just weird because I'm the only one with a Switch in my family and I'm the only one playing. So it's like, yeah, this is what's going on. Like my sister today, she's like, I'm going to come over and watch you play. It's like, well, it'd just be so much more fun playing with you.
Yeah.
But
Right?
okay.
Let's just pass Switch.
How about
Get a
how
Switch-
about
get a
you
Switch
just get a
Lite.
Switch?
Yeah, get a Switch
Yeah,
Lite.
it's like, well, I've been trying to sell people on the Switch because of Ring Fit right now. It's like you're stuck inside, and
Yeah, it's
we
true.
should be exercising. So
We-
Ring Fit is like
Yeah.
the thing right now.
We talked about that actually, Tara and I, yesterday about picking one up because it's like, man, the kids are here and like we've been going for walks and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
there's only so much you can do because you're not allowed to, can't be in big public spaces and all this other
Yeah,
crap. So
I find Ring
like-
Fit is so good. It's just making you work out, even, but you're not thinking it's working out. It's wonderful. It's just an RPG. But
Oh,
it's such a
cool.
light RPG
Yeah.
that it's like, okay, you have to color code. Like the red enemies will have to do like leg exercises to be, they're weak against leg exercises. And
Interesting.
yellow enemies are weak against arm exercises, and teal enemies are weak against yoga exercises.
Okay.
And stuff like that. But you can make your own like arsenal of exercises. If you don't want to do floor exercises, sure, you can just do arm and squats and all your life and be happy.
I would like to
so-
know what the double barrel shotgun equivalent is for exercises. in that game.
I would say it's probably like doing the arm exercise. You can hold up your gun pretty much.
Nice,
So.
nice. There you go. There you go.
But yes, I've talked everybody's ear off. About
No,
it.
you're good. You're good.
You know what's so great about this is, Sarah, I think that this is one of the first times that we've actually been able to hear you like at length with like this is the like
Oh.
this is the nostalgia, this is the game, this is why this is so important to
Oh,
hear
yeah.
like such a deep connection
was-
for you.
Because it was fun last night. Because Tyler, every year he gets his MLB The Show, and every year he gets like this midnight relaunch. Like, yes, it's midnight. I got all my snacks. I'm ready to go. And I'm like, it's been 7 years since I've had that kind of thing. So I'm gonna like I have my popcorn and I have my kombucha, and I'm like, I'm ready for this one time, like once in a 7-year thing. I was so excited. So like this is like. I mean, getting it all out there. It's wonderful. I'm so excited to just
Been 7
chill.
long years.
That's right.
It
That's right.
feels like it.
I honestly cannot remember the last time I did a midnight release. I really can't.
Yeah.
I really think that Halo 2 was the
I was
last
just
time
thinking through that in my
that,
head. Yeah.
that I did a midnight release. And that was insane. That was absolutely insane. It was
Yeah,
wonderful,
it
but
was.
insane. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this over to Matt. So Matt, you have, for as long as I have known you, which has been a
Yeah.
very long time, you have been a huge Doom fan.
Yeah.
That
a
is,
little
and that is to put it very, very lightly. Actually, I think like most of ID's releases, you have been there for those.
Yeah, I think for the most part. I mean, I was like 7 or 8 when the original Doom came out,
Yeah.
so I don't know if I was there for that release, but it
Well,
also came out on 3 floppy disks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so that's saying something. So
Yeah.
so tell me a little bit of your story of like how did you connect with that series? I mean, obviously like during the day, like when Doom came out, there really was not a lot as far as first person shooters go. I mean, you had
No.
Wolfenstein 3D that I think
Yeah.
was around that
Yeah.
time. And then
Yeah.
like if you were on the Mac side, Marathon was somewhere around in there, which was kind of my gateway into
Yeah.
FPSs.
absolutely.
So like this, so if today's release were a Marathon release, like it would be that big of a deal to
Oh,
me.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your connection with this and kind of
yeah.
bring us up to speed.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, first of all, shout out to Marathon. I didn't play it until we were in college, and the depth and breadth of that story is just amazing. So, awesome job there.
Come on, Bungie, make it
Yeah,
happen.
right? Make a new one. Let's do it.
Yes, you're self-publishing now. There's no threat of anybody taking the IP from you. Do it now.
It's true. It's true. But that being said, jumping back to the good old days of 1993, I actually did start with Wolf 3D, Wolfenstein 3D back in the day. It was the first FPS I think that ever existed, and it was the first one I ever played. Absolutely loved it for what it was, and still go back every once in a while. The nostalgia kicks in, and I'll go, I'm gonna play some Wolf, so I'll go back and play it. But that being said, I was probably way too young to be playing these games. But again, like we grew up in a time where Yeah, like we grew up in a time where there was no rating system, there was no standards or gateways. It was just like, here's a new game, go nuts. And so yeah, I think I was 7, 8 years old, something like that, when Doom dropped, and I played the ever living crap out of that game. Like I can almost play it without even looking at it. It's one of those type of, like, those events where like they blindfold the guy and then they play the game all the way through.
Yep.
I could almost do that with the original Doom. It was so good. But anyway, yeah. So I played Doom, and it's just been one of those franchises that I've always kind of followed as we've gone through. So I played Doom 2, played all the Final Doom, played everything, all the extra levels years later, and which was great. Doom 3, which got so much hate, and it's too bad. It actually is a good game.
Scary.
It is probably I would argue one of the scariest in the franchise, which is why a lot of people get upset with it, ironically. Because
of it. Wait a minute.
Well, it was a much slower game than like the previous ones, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And they really kind of tried to build up the story, which a lot of traditional Doom fans hated, because Doom was all about the run and gun, like get the blue key, get the yellow key, get the red key, get out. Like that was the formula.
Kill demons
right?
along the way, rinse, lather, repeat.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like that was the loop. And I mean the gameplay loop has always been a thing. The original Halo did an incredible job with that. When it came out, I remember listening to an interview.
Oh yeah.
With some of the producers, or some of the developers, sorry, and they talked about like the goal for them when they made Halo was to find 30 seconds of joy, like what just brings people joy in the FPS, and just keep repeating it. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, and that was what Doom was all about, was like, what are those 30 seconds of just
carnage.
chaotic chaotic carnage that's super fun, and let's keep doing that. So so then Doom 2016 came out after a long drought of no Doom.
Now wait a minute. Going back, there was
Yeah.
a release on the Xbox that
that was Doom 3.
was that okay. That was Doom 3.
Was it?
Okay, you and I played through Doom 3.
Yes, we did. They did a system link co-op for that.
Right.
That we
Wow.
played. Remember? So that was actually a port of the PC version of Doom 3.
Gotcha. Okay.
So now I'm intentionally, hardcore Doom fans are really freaking out right now, because I'm intentionally skipping one, which I'm about to come back to, because there was a Doom release on the N64 that I missed originally growing up. We didn't have an N64 till late in that kind of the console generation. Yeah, so I missed that game. However, when I pre-ordered Doom Eternal, which I just got yesterday, it dropped with it. They gave it to you as part of the pre-order bonus. So I spent a good bulk of yesterday actually playing through that game, and oh my word, it's amazing.
Really?
Like I'm sad I missed out on it. Because it is. It reminds me. It feels a lot like Movement feels a lot like the original Quake, but with way better graphics. And the original Quake was actually an excellent game. Harkening back to the Quake days. So Doom 64 was absolutely phenomenal. I'm not all the way through it yet. I'm only in like level 8 or 9 or whatever, but it's really
Pick
good.
it up and you switch to?
Yeah, I'm totally getting that whole. I'll get both Eternal and 64, because
I figured.
the Switch. Interestingly, the Switch is the only device that I have every Doom game together.
It is the Doom machine.
Yeah, it is the Doom machine. Now, like I have like all the Doom games on my PC, but like most of them are on Steam. But I've got some over on Bethesda.net, so it's just a mess.
Yeah.
And so anyway. So that brings me to Doom Eternal, which dropped at midnight last night. They actually let us go in yesterday to pick up our collector's editions. Because of the Animal Crossing thing and with everything going on, they're like, hey,
can't have too many people at once.
well, that's it, right? They're only allowed 20 people in the store or something. So, so I was able to get it yesterday, and I unboxed it, and I sent lots of pictures to Dame. And I sent some of them to you this morning. Yeah, I sent some of them to you this morning.
I loved those pictures.
Oh, so good, man. So good. The kids were as excited as I was, and they didn't even know what was going on. They're just like, what? Oh, stuff. Okay.
There's a helmet in the house now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they just want to run around with it all the time.
Yep.
So.
All right, so now
She got two of them.
It has to happen, Matt. It has to happen.
All right.
Put it on.
I just happened to have it with me right here. It sucks for our...
I never thought you'd ask.
All right. It sucks for our listeners.
Oh, I can still hear you.
See it. Well, they're not going to see it though.
Oh, it's
so
true.
You should jump
You'll
over
have
to
to tune in
YouTube
on YouTube.
and check this out, because this helmet is amazing.
It is so cool. It is so
I
It
can't
even
cool.
believe
has
it
like
fits.
LED on it. Hold up. Let's see if I can do it from inside the helmet. I don't know if it's on or...
The struggle.
Yeah, it's on.
What?
You practice.
So it actually like lights right up.
That
That's
is
crazy.
awesome.
And it fits incredibly well. Like I was blown away at how well this thing fit.
So
Wow.
how hot does it get in there though?
Oh man. Well, like so I've cosplayed for a few years now, and like one of the things I've learned along the way is to stay away from cosplays that require a helmet.
Or just build fans
Imagine.
into those things.
Sweat fest.
Oh, they're so warm. Yeah, my first cosplay was like a Winter Soldier, and I had like the full mask and goggles, and oh my word, it was like July in Niagara.
Mistakes were made.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, so I started into that last night at, I think by the time it finished, because it preloaded and then it had to patch, so I think it was 12:30 when I started. And I think by like 3:30, I was like, okay, I should probably go to bed because I have
I was up last night until about 12:30, and I almost sent you a text and asked like, how is Doom?
Oh, so good.
But I didn't.
No time to talk dooming.
But I didn't want to interrupt you. I didn't want.
No. It's good. I appreciate that. It well, okay. So very quickly, because I wasted a lot of time, but Doom Eternal is amazing. I was telling you guys off recording that it is this crazy mix of like Doom meets parkour meets ballet. It is this just incredible dance of destruction. Where what I love about this is like it's not like a serious Sam game where you're just like mowing everything down and all that.
Right.
There's a lot of carnage, don't get me wrong. But it's all about being very strategic. Like you have to think incredibly fast because even the difficulty level is just like cranked up to 11 in this. Things will pursue you aggressively, and so you have to be really intentional about like, all right, I knocked the spider's gun off his thing. That's going to stun him for like 2 seconds. That gives me just enough time to launch a grenade over this pile of enemies. I got a cacodemon flying here, so I need to switch to my shotgun and load up the sticky bomb and fire it into his mouth, which will stun him for 4 seconds. Like there's just this a lot of all the time. They just throw stuff at you constantly, and one of the things I really love about it is the verticality in the arena areas when you're fighting. They use the vertical space so incredibly well because they've added, like on top of double jump, you now have a double dash. And they have these like these floating recharges for your double dash. So you can like strategically move around the map and recharge your double dash. So you're constantly moving all the time. You cannot stand still in this. Like even with a scoped heavy machine gun, you have to move while you're doing it. In fact, the upgrades for the machine gun just allow you to move faster while scoped. Because it's so insane. Like you can't sit back and just pot shot guys because they'll just come to you and kill you. So yeah, it's been amazing. I'm absolutely loving it. 10 out of 10. We'll play again.
Haven't even finished playing through it, but I will play. Right. I will play it again.
Absolutely.
So there's something interesting in this for both of those franchises for you guys. And then this isn't just for you, but it seems to be the overarching impression that I'm getting as I'm watching like the Twitter feeds and the social interaction with both of these titles. Both Doom and Animal Crossing, as weird as it sounds, they both have this pedigree or this reputation that they're built on. And reputation is one of those things where I know that a lot of with like the streaming culture and whatnot, there's a lot of conversation around like clout and social clout and whatnot, but reputation is something I think that's completely separate from that. It's not just like hey, I'm doing this thing, or like, hey, this is a stunt or something like that. But when you have a series that, has taken a 7-year hiatus or a 4-year hiatus or whatever, and then releases another iteration of that title, there's a long-standing reputation of like, hey, we're willing to wait for this thing, or we're willing to invest in this thing, and maybe sometimes even a couple of times on multiple systems, because
I don't know what you're talking about.
Because of Mister, I own Skyrim on every platform it was released on, and so I mean, there's a certain reputation that those things are built on. Reputation is kind of important. Because it speaks to consistency, and so let me kind of throw this question out here and kind of turn the conversation toward our reputations. When it comes to our reputation, the reputation of Christians within our culture, how important is that? How important is it for the church or for Christians to have a good reputation? What does that even look like? So I want to throw that back to you guys.
No, that's a great question. I think I think it's interesting because I think it's very easy to actually highlight this, but from a negative standpoint, in the sense that, you know, historically, unfortunately, there have been, and I'll bring this back around to a positive, I promise, but I think it's important to highlight both sides of this because it shows the power of reputation. And, you know, it's interesting because even in our own, like, you know, last 100 years of history, we've seen a lot of negative examples of the church in action, right? A lot of hate and a lot of protest and a lot of, you know, justifying it as social justice and all this other crap that we've done. And it has left a very sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. In fact, a lot of what we do even now as a church culture is figuring out how to reshape that reputation for people. Like when we say Jesus, when we say church, you know, we're in this place of going, okay, how do we help redefine that for people? Because there's been such a negative reputation that we've had. Now, that being said, I think we also see some incredible examples of when the church has done it right and the impact that's had on culture as well. Right. I mean, you know, historically, actually, Pastor Jay, one of the pastors of the church that I'm a part of, guy is just an amazing theologian and just loves church history and just incredibly good at pulling those awesome application points out with it. He talked about, you know, like historically the church during every major like world crisis, like that's when the church shines.
Yeah,
that's when it steps up and fills in those gaps. And, you know, he said in a lot of ways it almost embarrasses culture because of the way it helps and the way it impacts and the way it reaches in. And he said, he said, you know, you can see that in almost every century because there's been like plagues and things like that in every century. And I was listening to a video the other day and man, it's such an incredible statement. He said, you know, Christians are the firefighters of culture. When everybody else is running out of the building, they're running in.
Truth.
You know, and I think that leans heavily into this whole idea of our reputation and what, you know, when people find out that I'm a Christian, what does that communicate to them? What does that mean to them? So I would say, man, that like, that's huge. Like it is one of those fundamental things, as Christ followers that we have to be very careful of and we have to guard because we're not just representing ourselves. We're representing the gospel. The good news is the way you're living your life. Good news to someone around you. And I think that's the question I'm always left with and I have to ask myself. So them's my thoughts.
I don't know, like for me, the reputation I 100% agree that this is a time where the church can come out and shine and be the firefighters for sure. Like it has happened through history a whole bunch. I know for me myself, I want to build a reputation in showing the gospel through me and my actions. Yeah. And it's like, I hope that in this time I can show that because with all the stuff going on, I've been disappointed by a few people, honestly, that I did respect and have kind of been knocked down a few just by the way all the reactions have been going on and how people are just handling the situation in a way that is not conducive to what the scripture says. Yeah. And I am trying to do a lot of reading about this lately in the Bible, like what the Bible says about all of this. And I've been listening to a bunch of I've been really happy with there's a couple podcasts I listen to that I've been doing daily podcasts now. Nice. For people that are stuck at home. Yep. Just being like, okay, this is your daily reminder and daily scripture of what the Bible does say about this. So that's been really helpful to me. And I use that to try and put it back into building the reputation I want to use to show God through my daily life. So I think the reputation now through the church to be like, power on.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That's good. Good thoughts.
Yeah, it's
they're mine.
I think that when it comes to the reputation of the church and the reputation of you know who we are in Christ, I would go back to, you know, Matt, the statement that you made that, you know, Christians have historically run to the fire. And that's been the thing that really has been on my heart and my mind throughout I don't want to like every one of our Roll the Level episodes from here on out to be like running commentary on, the coronavirus or anything like that.
No.
But I mean,
it is relevant.
But it's
right
really
now.
relevant right now to, what we're seeing, what we're going through, and we're whole people. Things impact us, on a emotional, spiritual, physical levels and whatnot. But for me, like when I look at the I'm another one of those that I'm fascinated by church history. And while I may not have all of the recall, with this historically, again, when the church should not be thriving, when it just has this resilience to it, because usually it's moments like these that refocus the church to what's important. And we were talking, Sarah, you and I were talking off stream before we started recording about some of the responses to this being really apocalyptic and really like doom and gloom and whatnot. And I've had some of those that I've interacted with, and the thing that I've looked at it, I've looked at the situation through this lens of like, even if these are apocalyptic time, that doesn't change the posture of the church. If anything, it reminds us of the urgency of who we're supposed to be and what our reputation is supposed to point to. And so going back to the reputation piece here, whether in crisis or in good times when everything is awesome, the reputation of the church should be consistent throughout all of that. Now, we're fallible people. We're fallible people. But when I look at the book of Acts, and I always go back here because it's the clearest picture that we get of like, hey, these are a bunch of people that they were with Jesus, and this is what they figured out how to do next. Right, wrong, left, right, whatever. This is what they figured out how to do next, but they were the closest in proximity to Jesus. And we see them, they're praying together. They're sharing meals together. They're talking about godly teaching together. They're encouraging one another. They're enjoying each other's company. There is this mutual generosity between them. This curiosity is just, that's the reputation that they have. Like this is what these people are about. And in the center of all this, there's this teacher named Jesus that maybe he was dead and maybe now he's maybe alive and we don't know. We maybe not have met him, but these guys have. And there's this curiosity that's just generated around him. And people want to be a part of that because they see the joy and the hope that they have. And even in like this first century, like, and this is the thing that like, just again, like I go back to this and go, the church should not have survived through this, but it did. First century Roman Empire, Emperor Nero steps onto the scene. Nero is he has it out for Christendom. And like to the point where like he is putting, I don't want to get too graphic here, but he's essentially like impaling Christians, sticking those stakes in his gardens and lighting them up to light up his garden parties for entertainment. Like this is the dude, like this is what he's doing. Like he's making sport of Christians. And yet in the midst of all of this, the church stands because Christian people are clinging to Christ through this. They know who Jesus is, and their reputation precedes them as these are people who are not afraid, even in the midst of plague, even in the midst of persecution, to run in there and bring hope and wholeness and holiness into those situations. They are people of grace and peace. And guys, I'm getting riled up about this because I've absolutely loved seeing this being squeezed out of the church in the time that we're in right now. There are some who are hiding. There are some who have gone into hiding, but I believe largely the church is finding creative ways for the gospel to disperse outside of the walls. We're seeing a church without borders right now. I absolutely love that. I
love all the churches right now that are like embracing technology too. Like they're finding ways to reach people in different mediums, and it is awesome. Like it is just a great way for the church to grow and other people to come in and learn more and get like their normal sermons that they would normally have and from where they are. It's a wonderful thing to see everybody embracing that.
Well, that's kind of the reality that I find myself in as I'm leading my church is asking the question of how do we best disciple people off of the campus?
Yep.
And that's a
Yeah.
and that's a question that we should have been asking beforehand anyway.
No.
So it's and what's funny is like I had been already asking this question. So I mean I've already been thinking through this stuff, but now there's the urgency of it too, right? Where the urgency piece of is if we don't do this, we will die, which is the urgency that we should have had beforehand. But you know, the thing that I've been asking is how do we connect with people that are not connected with technology, but how do we then leverage the technology that we do have to connect with people who are? And so it's this both and approach of making sure that no one gets left behind in the midst of this. And so the thing that I'm actually getting ready to blast this out to my church, where it's like, hey, these are the things. Like, we're still the church, even though the doors of the building are closed. We have not ceased being the church. We've just started being the church in a larger spread out area. And we still get the opportunity to have discipling conversations. And so whether it is, you know, you stand on opposite sides of the front porch with each other in the backyard, whether it's you call each other or Zoom or Discord or, you know, Skype or carrier pigeon, smoke signal, I don't care how you do it, disciple one another. I'm going to get materials into your hands. I'm going to get you into the word and spark something in you, I hope. But hopefully you're doing this already. And this starts creating practice where we're actively discipling one another. And it's not, and while the church, and again, like this is one of those like reputation things where like the reputation of the church isn't just that we come here 1 hour or 2 hours a week and we sit down and we experience a performance of some sort of thing, but we're charged when we come together to go out and do this thing during our week.
It's one of my favorite sermons that Matt did.
Oh, okay.
I always remember this was the sponge. I don't know why I remember this, but when we come together as a church for the 1-2 hour whatever, we are full. We are the sponge in the bucket, and we are full. And throughout the whole week, we are slowly being dripped out with all the work we do for other people and for God and for the kingdom. And at the end of the week, we're empty, and we come back together to soak up our sponge again. And it's like, I love that analogy. It's just like, we should be doing things through the week to empty our sponge. Like we are not alone through the week. We are always doing something to grow the kingdom, and then, or to get the word out even, and then come together again. Like, it's a recharging. It's wonderful. I love that.
Yeah. And you know, the thing with that too is that, you know, I've had this conversation with my leaders a whole bunch, and that is that you can only give out of the overflow, right? Like you can only pour out of the overflow, and what's being poured into you will get squeezed out and will pour out. Yeah. And I think, and Matt, you and I have, you know, been on enough missions trips together, and you've been on enough missions trips where you know that like intense situations tend to squeeze out what's on the inside. And,
it's true, 100%.
And so like my prayer for the church, really reputation wise, has been that grace and peace would be squeezed out during this time. Because that's, you know, that is the tone of everything that I see. When going back to Acts, you know, you've got this beautiful picture of this gathering in Jerusalem, but then you get to Acts chapter 7 and 8, and you see this persecution that starts breaking out, and people are scattered all over the place, but they don't stop doing the thing that they'd already done. As a matter of fact, there are people who are encountered by the good news of Jesus that would have never otherwise heard his name or never otherwise would have encountered the people of God. And so those Jerusalem moments, those gathering moments are the things that helped to push the gospel out into the scattered. If you've never read the book Matt, you recommended this. It's Hugh Halter and Matt Smay. If you are engaged in any type of church, like, you need to read this because it is so good. I weep every time that I read this book because it's my heart longing for the church. But we need gatherings, we need scatterings. It's a both and thing. But anyway, so in these moments of the scattering, these people are the reputation of Jesus is carried with them into Samaria and into the Roman world and beyond. And then you have everyone from from sorcerers to centurions that are receiving not only the gospel message, but lives are being transformed. People are being baptized. People are being filled with the Holy Spirit. And the message of Jesus is getting out there.
In so many unexpected
In
ways.
so many unexpected ways.
It's true.
It's unprecedented and it's unorthodox, and I absolutely love it. I want to share a quick story, and I know we're going like pretty long here, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap the episode here up after the story. And I don't share this as like hey, look at what I'm doing, for this thing.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
But I can only speak out of the context that I have here. I've been so proud of my church throughout this season right now, because one of the things that my church has been engaged with is there's a program in our area that helps provide meals for kids that are at risk for over the weekend. And so with this program, every month we get like a load of groceries and whatnot that come in, and then we, give those bags out to the schools and whatnot. And so we've got two schools that we're partnered with for that. And literally right across the street from my church is one of the elementary schools. And so after there was some, bustle about school closure and whatnot, I had a bunch of people in my church that called me up and they were like, hey, Pastor Damien, what are we doing for those kids? Like, is there a way that we can connect with those families? Is there a way that we can, what about during the week? Like yes, we've got stuff for them for the weekend, but what about during the week? What are we doing about that? And what's great is like, I was in the midst of having that conversation with the school and also with the parent teacher organization. And so then this just snowballed, these conversations between the PTO and the neighborhood and the school and the church. And so this week has been this flurry of activity of the PTO in the neighborhood starting to gather donations of both money and food. The school connecting with the PTO and communicating out to the families that are impacted by this. The school communicating to the church, asking for the church to be the spearhead in the organization of the distribution of this food. And there's just been this like symbiotic relationship that's taken place. And the thing that I've loved about this is that within my town, the neighborhood is seeing that the church is here and the church is a part of this. We are not running away from this situation, but we are running towards this situation, and our reputation precedes us because this isn't the first time that the church has done this. And I'm not building something that hasn't been done already. Like, I get to be a part of a legacy of generosity that's happened here already. And it's just this beautiful thing to see the church just, again, like Wednesday night, we had people from the church and the neighborhood that were a part of this distribution, and they're working together, and it's so good. I love it. But anyway, I mean, it's one of those things though, that it's built on the reputation that has existed there. And so my prayer that like throughout all of this is that we would, all of us, wherever we find ourselves, whatever our contexts are here, if you're a Christian, that you would be found to be a person that is full of grace and peace, that your reputation would precede you, that you would move forward in great hope and anticipation for what God is doing in and through this. Remember to fill yourself up with hope. There's a lot of conflicting information, a lot of fear that's being bandied about, but you don't have to be afraid because of the reputation of Christ. Jesus told us that in this world we would experience trouble, but to trust in him, that he's overcome the world, that all authority in heaven and earth has been given to him. Therefore, go and make disciples. I'm throwing this all out there to you because I hope that this inspires you as you move forward. Well, guys, this has been a huge conversation. A lot of stuff going on. I apologize. I've been like ranting here for the last couple of minutes. Anything y'all want to add in here at the end?
Wonderful.
I think you did a great job of summarizing it
Yeah.
all. No, I think I 100% agree. It is time for the church to shine,
Indeed.
and there's nothing stopping us.
Yeah.
The reality is we don't have anything to fear. We have God on our side,
Yeah.
so we can go into this world and we can engage with it and be all right with that, because God is bigger than all of these things, and at the end of the day, we're going to see Him anyway. So it's exciting stuff to me, like that heavenly perspective that of the end of the day, we're doing this all for God's glory anyway. Yep. So I don't have to be afraid of the today.
Yep.
So,
and
anyway, it's good.
Sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, I was gonna say, I heard just going on something about fear too. Like I when I was listening to one of the podcasts the other day, I'm totally gonna steal this, but in Revelations 1:17 and 18, it talks about it's John looking at Jesus. Jesus said, "Look at me," and if you know his reputation, look at me, like what I can do, like who I am. I hold the keys to the gates of Hades. So that is one of our biggest fears, is death.
Mm-hmm.
And if we know that Jesus has that in his hand, what do we have to fear?
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the images that kind of really helped me was that just think in your mind's eye that you are holding your biggest fear. And right now it's going to be sickness for a lot of people. That's just what it is right now. Mm-hmm. And you just in your mind's eye, pretend that you are giving it to Jesus, just handing it over. And that has helped me just hand over my fears, not think about it, put more, headspace, I guess, into getting back into doing things, like finding what I can do to help the people that are in need right now. Like buying meals for people that are in self-isolation is what I'm going to be doing soon, because I do know a few people that are now in self-isolation.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be working on that, and just little things. But I think that anybody in the church can do something big or small.
Yeah, and I'm just going to throw out that piece of scripture here, Revelation 1:17 and 18. John is he sees Jesus and he falls at his feet as though he's dead. It says, then he placed his right hand on me and said, "Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the living one. I was dead, and now look, I am alive forever and ever, and I hold the keys of death and Hades." And it doesn't end there. Then he's like, "Hey, then take a look at what I'm doing and what's about to happen here." So in all of this, again, the reputation of Jesus precedes us. We carry him with us wherever we go. We're going to go ahead and close things up here, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the podcast here, wherever you fill your podcasty sort of needs. And like Matt said earlier in the episode, we are putting videos out on YouTube. They are staggered a bit from our audio. That's a couple days later, just because we got to churn the video out and whatnot. But anyway, we're so glad that you joined us here today. Make sure that you find us on the social media platform at Roll the Level on Twitter and Roll the Level on Facebook. Engage with us there, and we look forward to the next time where we can help each other to roll the level.